have a very opinionated monkey that lives in my head rent-free and gives bad advice. I think it's time we put some of those bad takes in check. Fair warning, I don't have much time to edit tonight, so we're just going to have a conversation and do this in one take. This monkey that lives in my head, he thinks everything's the end of the world. He has this fear-based mentality, and I don't mean the connotation like you hear on the internet all the time about someone says fear-based mentality and they expect fear is bad. Fear's not good or bad, it just is. I mean, it's rather handy if there's a bear headed towards you, but it also makes you do dumb things like keep the extra hardware when you're putting together furniture just in case. Just in case what? Like they stop making screws and dinky little Allen wrenches? You don't need it. But it's a scarcity mindset. It's all fear-based, right? So fear can be useful. It's an awfully friendly adaptation in times of need, but I think it's overused, and our little monkey brains are evolved to think everything in extremes to keep you alive. So I was thinking about it this morning as I hobbled my way back from the local pool. And one way to overcome the fear is to gradually desensitize to it, right? Face your fear in steps and look it directly in the eye and start getting desensitized so that you can learn to make the distinction between respecting something for what it is and the fear of it. That monkey in my brain, he's scared of the unknown, right? He's scared of being cast out of his tribe. He's fearful of protection for survival. He's also scared of that dumb shit I said 10 years ago and I can't change. So he brings it up in the middle of the night. He works in absolutes, right? That little monkey brain works in extremes and absolutes. I think it was Will Durant who said that extremes are half-truths. I think of extremes, or taking extreme positions, as lazy, right? It's easy to pick an extreme and just latch onto it like it's certain. So in the interest of getting a little bit better and sharing it with you, let's dive in. I think I found a few things on my walk or hobble back home. I injured myself this week, that I think are a little bit helpful, or at least helpful to me. Hopefully you find some use in them. Number one is self-talk. So that negative voice in your head is both right and wrong. You had a breakup, you lost a job, you're just not feeling it today. That soft hunk of tissue in between your ears, it'll tell you stories, right? Good ones and bad ones. Listen to the positives and listen to the negatives. Have some dialogue with yourself, alone, in silence, or on a walk. Spend the time to do that and you'll learn a little bit. And try and interpret why your brain is telling you what it's telling you. What does it really want? What are the incentives involved? And see if you can decipher it as best you can. Sometimes you just have to get better at something and take another swing. Sometimes you need to pivot away from something. Sometimes bad things happen and you just have to pick up the pieces and move forward, right? That life is not clear cut all the time. And rarely do we get enough information to make the right decision. But what you rarely need to do is take the extreme action that little monkey brain says you need to take for survival, unless you're in a war zone. Another thing that I came up with this morning was self-care, right? If you're not getting good sleep, good food, good exercise, expect the message in your brain not to be clear, right? You're feeding it garbage in, garbage out. It's as simple as that. So if you're not taking care of yourself, be wary of the messages your brain is sending you. It might just need a good night's sleep, some decent food, and a jog. The next one is get out of your own head. I mean, analyze for a bit. I know I said think about it and take a walk, but don't do that forever. This is not a Forrest Gump scene where you just run from coast to coast. Analyze for a bit and then decide and act. Nothing's ever as good or as bad as it seems. I stole that from Scott Galloway, and he's absolutely right. Beware of the death spiral, right? It's easy to go, oh my God, I lost my job. Nobody's going to like me. I'm going to be homeless. Then I'm never going to get another job. And then I'm going to get ostracized by my family, and I'm going to die alone in a ditch. And calm down. It's usually not that serious. And usually if you made a bad mistake, you can pretty quickly correct it. So analyze for a bit and then make a decision and act. Your mind will overthink any problem you give it. Let's see what the next one was. So if you're like me and you're naturally hard on yourself, that my inner monologue is way worse than any critic could be, although this is going in the internet, so that could be proven wrong. Try being nice to yourself for a bit. Just try it on. What do you have to lose? You get the choice of what you tell yourself. If you're too nice to yourself, which I can't really relate to, maybe you need to get your shit together. But I find, at least in the people I've ever talked to about this stuff, they're usually more hard on themselves than anything else. So I don't know how to give advice the other direction. The point is, give yourself an accurate assessment, but don't beat yourself up too much, especially not repeatedly. If you've already said mea culpa to yourself, forgive yourself and move on. Don't forget. Don't make the same mistake again if you can prevent it, but make your peace with it and move on. The only direction you have is forward. It isn't helping you get to where you want to be anyway, right? And remember that ideals are meant to be almost unattainable. So not meeting the ideal is par for the course. Another thing is think about what you're telling yourself, and is it helpful, right? Is thinking this actually helping me? Could telling yourself a better story be beneficial? It goes along with the previous one of trying being nice to yourself, but I don't mean rainbow and butterflies, right? Like I mean a helpful message to yourself. Just like you can recognize yourself becoming angry and then choose not to slam into the other car that your fellow driver chose to pull out in front of you, you can do the same thing with this inner monologue monkey, right? You can pull yourself out, press pause for a second on the little temper tantrum that's going on in your head, and assess if it's helpful. Is this actually getting me where I want to go? And if not, act accordingly. Another one is beware comparison. So is the self-talk you're having based on comparison to someone else? I'm super guilty of this. I'm not usually very jealous, but I find myself falling into a trap. And there's a recent one. So we had elections not long ago in the U.S. and new president, new cabinet, all that fun stuff. And regardless of how you feel on it, the fun example for me was Hegseth got Secretary of Defense, right? And I'm like, okay. But then I looked up Hegseth and realized we're roughly the same age. And I had this instant emotional jealousy of like, this guy's sec def. What am I doing with my life? One of those moments. And I had to remind myself, it's not bad in and of itself to have that envy of someone's success. But when it bridges over into jealousy, which is a different thing, it's an unhealthy version of that, it can get you in a bad place. You can draw inspiration from folks who are very successful. But remember that if you're jealous, you have to be that person. You have to take all the good and all of the bad. You can't just cherry pick the desirable traits or outcomes and ignore everything else. So would I trade my life for another person? No, I'm rather fond of my own, despite not being where I wish to be. That's okay. The point is, you don't get to be Mike Tyson without the childhood trauma and the things that he had to go through as an adult after that to get to where he is today. Let alone champion when he was, 19 or some nonsense, like amazing. But he had a hard road to get there. Would I trade that if I wanted to be a boxer? No, I don't think I would. So remember that if it's from comparison, are they really on your path, right? Would you trade everything for it? All right, let's see the last one, and then I'll leave it for the evening. what does the person you want to be have playing in their head all day? Okay, how is that different from your own theme song? Do you really think the person that you want to be in the future, whether it's some avatar, some other person, or a future version of yourself, do you really think that person's beating themselves up all day? And if so, do you really want to live that kind of existence? I think they're worthy questions. That's all I've got for tonight, brother. Love you.